room right now. See if anybody's on board. Gonna do some chopping up. See what's happening. Been through some few topics and whatnot. Um, Gonna do a video soon. Just got through watching. Um, Had my first few takes and whatnot. Been watching Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce definitely. He's getting his cuts in. He's getting his cuts in. Oh, I watched the highlights of the Nuggets last night. Oh boy. Told you about Michael Porter Jr. though. He looking good. He looking good. The Nuggets look like they ready to get that thing. They about ready to do that thing. So, you know, I got them winning the chip. I really can't see no one match their intensity. Just can't. And the key to me is gonna be obviously Jokic is the dude, but Michael Porter Jr. though. And don't sleep. You know, Jamal Murray's always getting slept on, but Michael Porter Jr. I mean, he was whipping it last night. They're gonna be tough. They look good. They're on a mission. They're on a mission. You know. I don't even know if they're gonna lose two more games the rest of the year the way they're playing. I think they I could definitely tell there is a need and a speed to get what they're gonna get. So I'm very impressed by what I've seen with the Nuggets though. Yeah. But almost some, we'll see. But they beat the Knicks. They put points on the Knicks. The Knicks uh looked pretty good against Golden State, but got brought back to earth against Denver. Most teams do. Most teams do. You know. I'm a firm believer if they win this year, they got a chance to maybe flirt with a three-peat. I really do. I think if they win, if Denver wins this year, I think they got a chance to three. I think it's gonna be tough. I really do, cause they look really good. And the thing about it is, like last year, they came together. Now they look like they're getting seasoned. So we'll see. We will see. I'm very impressed by it over what I saw though. The crispness of the way they ball handle and their size and their length. Um, they look very good. Very good. So I checked out a couple things. I saw what Iverson had to say to Windhorst. It wasn't really nothing surprising. Uh, you know, people always like saying things, but again, I believe guys can attack this league. I believe guys could really do things. I look at all I gotta do is look at Shea Christ Alexander. You give Allen Iverson that kind of green light, he go crazy too. He was just a more productive scorer. He by scoring by any means, not the threes, but again, if you can score, you can score. You know, you see it all the time with guys. I mean, I'm a firm believer that that's what would happen. We've seen it enough already where we've had guys who are, you know, scoring threats who exuded so much. So, so it all depends on what you're looking for and what have you. I got some topics lined up that I'm definitely going to tap into. All I don't put on the live chat, I'll put on the videos, and you know, I'm still sitting on my Patreon, but I got a few places lined up, and you know, some interesting commentary on some things. So we'll see how everything goes. Um, Depends on what people want to talk about. Depends on what they want to, what's coming on to it. But got some things lined up that are definitely going to be on the burner. So we'll just see how things are going. I got a video coming tomorrow, probably. I don't know if I'm going to do it when. It's about Beyonce and her album cover, and it's how she generated some buzz because she's sitting there with the flag on, and some people are tripping about it. So I got some topics coming. Just looking forward to see where people go and what we end up talking about and who shows up. So um, I see I got 4 heads in, but ain't no one said nothing yet. I'm just waiting to see who comes through. There have been some trolls that have come through. Please, 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 please don't troll me because I don't really want to spend a lot of time having to take you out it's just not fun. Being a troll is too much work and bother. If you want legit questions, feel free to ask. You want to discuss things, feel free to ask, but just don't come here to troll. It's just not good. Um, we talk about everything: sports, music, movies, politics. Talk about relationships. Talk about different things. I just want it to be adult based. And another problematic when people come in and try to fuel or spoil something that is not healthy. So let's just keep it. You know, we have discussions about stuff where we can be in syncopation, because it's important that, voices are heard and things are said and there's respect. I did a video today about Kyle Rittenhouse. He got booed at the University of Memphis. I don't know why they would even have him as a speaker, but they chose to. And he's still out here trying to get some money and some sympathy for his ways. I just don't understand it. But, one thing about America, they always find a way to keep you around, um, have you speak on different things. You know, um, some things don't make any sense. Of do. What's happening? How you doing? How are you? I see I got more people coming through. Hello, how you doing? Where you coming from? And what is your question tonight? Okay, cool. Well, welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Feel free. The one good thing is I'm noticing, even though there'd be some trolls come through or some what have you, more people are coming through. So obviously, um, good, 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 good. How you doing, Corey Ray? Do you have a question? What's up? Okay, good from Canada. Okay. Well, I was in what part of Canada? It's all right. It was pretty low key. What about yourself? All right. Curious what part of Canada, what part of USA? Feel free to tell me. Okay, Ontario. Okay, that's the East Coast. Okay. I have no problem with anyone's orientation, just as long as it doesn't become an agenda. That's when you make stuff an agenda. Okay, what part of Missouri? When you make stuff an agenda, that's where it becomes problematic because you are you. However, you're not what your orientation is. You are a person, and there's a difference. So I don't discriminate against nobody, and I don't hate on nobody. However, I believe that you gotta maintain who you are out of respect. So that's why I come down with that. And too often than not, there's an agenda to make everything to fit an agenda. Rala. How far is that from? Is that near Kansas City or St. Louis? Let me know. There's a difference. So I don't know what that means. So that's got to go. But I definitely see more heads in here tonight. This is cool. Eventually, we get conversation going and we get something going where people will talk and we'll go from there and see what we're rolling with. Eventually, if people are trolling, they will troll themselves out of here too. I don't mind having conversation. I just like to deal with grown people that like to have real conversation or people that know how to be civil and keep it as such. Yeah. Well, there's a do who you are. However, you got to do it in a way where you are also not pushing agenda. Okay. Yeah, I know. That's why I'm not going. Usually, people who troll, I'm going to know. They'll say something, they'll give themselves away. They can't help it. And then I'll have to delete them. I'm not going to be here all night having blank conversations. I mean, people can be respectful. We can have conversation. Then we can have Q&A. Talk about what you want to talk about, and if I don't know, I'll tell to defer. I was low key today. How was your day? Dylan. Okay, cool. No, I don't. I'm still a checkers man. I tried. I don't play it enough. I should. Not gonna discuss because I don't really get into that. I don't know you like that, so I don't really go into that. All I'll say is that I've been between life changes because I had to do some moving and I'm in between situations, but I'm okay. It's all legal, everything's good. I just don't. But I am on here and I do other things and I'm okay. But I really don't know nobody, so I don't discuss livings and finances, but I'm all right. But if you want to discuss what you do, feel free. Not a secret because I am a blogger, okay? And I am all right. So, no, but I think you're just trying to reach a bit. I'm not, again, chess is a great complicated game. It's complex. I don't knock no one who can do it. I just not that good at it. I'm just being honest. Some things you ain't, I can learn from. Let me answer this guy, Daisy21, who had a good question. The days youth from today, the difference between the youth today and the past is social media. How you doing? How you doing? Where you coming from? I don't vote. I'll never vote. I can if I want to. I refuse to. The youth back in the day didn't have social media. You have social media today. That's the difference. Grown people didn't have social media. They got social media now. That's the difference. It's two different worlds. Two different worlds. You can't compare life today to the past. Um, the thought process behind voting is because as a black man, I feel we should be getting reparations. I'm tired of these politicians, and I don't think that they do anything. I think that Trump and Biden are just two evil white guys, and I don't find anything substantial about neither one of them. We need to be talking about reparations. We need to be talking about equality. We need to be talking about better housing, education, and systems. Not when they feel like coming to the community and saying, well, we need black people to represent or we need this. Don't want to feel like a token. Want to feel like inclusion. I don't find it in politics. I'm not a politician. So therefore, I don't understand what you mean. What were you trying to say, GSB? There's nothing else to vote for because that's what's going to come down to. I wish there were. There's not. There's not enough to really get into it because it's going to come down to those two. It's systematic. I never want to be part of nothing like that. It's a joke. It's absurd, and it really has no bearing. You just a you just a figurehead. I will say this, Mr. Hadley. If you're a real person, I'll say this: you vote for spiritual with God. You don't vote for man. That's how the best way I'll answer that in a real defiant way. Your higher power is your vote. What's up? What's up? People say I see it only the bad ones in my country. What country? There's a lot of problems in America. What's up? What's up? What's up, Ted? Glad you came through. I got bombarded with a lot of interesting commentaries today. This is the heaviest it's been in here today. The word must be getting around about this live because this is the busiest I've seen it. I've had some real interesting, some trolls, some not. Baraka. Well, you already said about Obama. I don't know where they trade him to. Where would you trade him? If he does, I wouldn't be surprised. If they don't win the chip, I think he will be gone. Actually, I agree. He probably will be. They don't win the chip, I see he probably would be gone. Yeah, no Obama, but that's a lifetime ago now. You got to do more than that. Okay. Reading, listen to music, probably reading, listen to music. Like to read, like to listen to music, movies. Like to, books I'm reading. What book are you reading? I was reading a book on Gordon Parks. Yeah. I kind of had that feeling things weren't going too healthy. Well, that's part of the tournament. I haven't really been paying attention. Again, as a Michigan fan, I ain't caring. Like Kansas and North Carolina, all that. I'm not really, but I'll take your word on it. I'm not surprised though. I mean, you're gonna get some surprises. That's what college basketball, that's what the tournament's supposed to be about. I'll have to peep out maybe, but that's what the tournament's about. It's supposed to be some upsets. It's supposed to be. Let me see some real quick. Bryce James. Okay. Okay. UConn tearing that butt up. I think that thing about Grambling is real surprising. I think that's the one that caught my attention. NC State. Okay. Grambling is impressive. John Calipari. Okay. See, and you be asking me why I don't keep over college basketball. That's exactly why. Why I could care less. Because Calipari been talking this mess about you can go to the pros, I'm gonna get paid. He's been saying that for like 20 years. Now he's an example of why I can't get into college basketball. He is one of the reasons. Him, them Italian boys, him and Rick Pitino. I'm like, as long as them turkeys got a job, why would I watch college basketball? It feels like the mob. I applaud you. Like there's a story like Gremlin, it's good. But when I see Calipari and Pitino, I'm like, come on now. What kind of racket are they running? Pretty much. This dude said 6 years ago, you go ahead to the pros, it's okay. I mean, he didn't pretty much sabotage. He been living off, he didn't Fisher, even though he's a legit college coach, he didn't Fisher priced his situation. He ain't won since when? I mean, you gotta think back to when Calipari was a, come on now. Come on now. And then you wonder why I'm kind of like whatever about it. I mean, he's a great example, and Patino is too. Those guys, man. It's crazy. Okay, NC State. Okay. Well, it's just that, like, because of the fact that, you always ask me all the time, like, why I tell you why I really ain't felt college basketball after Kobe and Garnett and them went to the NBA, because you lost out on 4 years or at least a year or two of some of these guys. Ben Simmons don't count, by the way. And when you go from that to LeBron, all that, no, because he was established. He had dominated. Jeff Fisher never was. There's a difference. I don't put that in that conversation, because there's a difference between a guy who had a great career and is considered one of the greatest, as opposed to a guy who went to a moment, but he never proved if he was good or great. He just lived off of what he did long ago, and then his teams and his stock continued to fall. Willie Mays was an incredible, great player. He was already an all-time great. That's not the same as Fisherin. Fisherin is like a guy that maybe had a moment, and then 20 years, 10, 15 years later, he been marginal to below and below, and people still holding on to that, you know. Because Michael Jordan actually talked about this. He said you can do that in the NBA. You can have an out of body, I call it an out of body, and then you live off of that for 20 years. So I just can't get over Kentucky though. I I hate to say it. I'll give you that one. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. He's bordering on it. If he don't do nothing in Denver, he's bordering on it. Now, usually I say with Fisher Price for a guy who never won, but yeah, guys who are coaching 10 plus years, 15 years, and they had that one moment, and then, you know, I'll give it another for guys who've won it. I'll call it the John Madden in it. They maddening it. The guys who didn't win it, I call it the Fisher Price. See, there's a difference. The John Madden is like the guy who, no, she's had a career. She had a career. She had a career. Vision of Love was a big song. We Belong Together came out in 2005. She had a big career. She's had a big career. I know the Christmas song is big, but hey, that alone gives her an exemption, because if you got a holiday song that people care about, considering how many holiday songs there are, and so fine. So let's be realistic. Most times holiday songs, most people don't talk about them past what, the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So that says something about her impact with that. So I can't knock that. I might not be the biggest fan, but I'm not gonna knock it. She came up big, so I can't knock it. So she had a big career. If you look up the charts, I don't know if you keep up with the charts or not. She's one of the biggest female selling artists ever. In the 90s, she was big. She was big, so I can't. No, I'm not the biggest, but I'm not gonna. No, I acknowledge, even though I'm not a big fan, though. You know, depends on what artist you tell me. No, he's big too. On the R&B charts, he's had quite a bit of hits. If you go by his pop, dominance, you could kind of say that. But if you go by where he is on R&B, and he's still considered a pretty big artist. I'll tell you who's a Fisher Price. It's Trey Songz. That's Fisher Price. He had a moment, didn't reach it no further. Those are Fisher Price, not Breezy. Omarion, that's Fisher Price. Neo, that's Fisher Price. Chris Brown ain't Fisher Price. There's a difference. There's a difference. Now, if you're asking me on talent, I might say Fisher Price, but if you're asking me on impact and longevity, etc., no. I think your best examples is Vince Carter. Yeah, because when you think about it, right, he's got a ring. It's mainly still that catch. That catch is the only thing people ever. No one care about him. They don't really. There's not much else to him. He's a woulda, coulda, shoulda. Was he headed towards Deshaun Jacksonville? Was he headed? Where was he headed? And his career has never. It doesn't match his charisma. You know what I mean? Like one of the most charismatic personalities ever, but his career doesn't match the totality. So, you know, that's the problem I have with him. You know, talent was there, but he didn't fill in the boxes. And he's got a ring. No, no, because he won a ring. Had he never done anything, say like for instance, he had to stayed in Detroit and didn't get out the first round or something, yes. But he won. No, he's you know, he's straight. He's straight. He's straight. I don't know if he'll win anything in again, but if he retires the next 2 or 3 years, you know, now he got a ring. He's got regular season. He's the Cy Young. His postseason is suspect, but he did win a ring 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. So he's covered. They don't apply to people that won like in the last 4 or 5 years. It's when you become like 10 or more years when I got to sit there and scratch my head or your body of work doesn't equate. That's what becomes Fisher Price. He's not the one. You can call him overrated and you can say that you don't really feel him. However, his career it's stacked. I can't take nothing from him. Only because the movies with Jackie Chan, Rush Hour 3 and 4 was big, and he had sequels. But he could have veered on that. He veers on certain things because time has a way of making you forget in a way. He does have like a asterisk. That's not a bad call. Because if you're talking about his prime and his peak and to what you had to wait, you make a good point and case. Because it was funny the day I was walking and You Rock My World came on. He did the intro part with Michael Jackson on the song. And he was having, no. Body work too strong. Movies, music, no. It's got to be Purple who faded a long time ago and it ain't track record, ain't don't have none. Cube's got too many sequels. Cube's straight. He's straight. You gotta hit the people. You ain't getting warm. I'll let you know when you get somebody warm. I'll tell you. You want me to tell you? You tell me yes if you want me to tell you. I'll tell you who Fisher Price is. You're not even getting warm. That Chris Tucker one was a pretty good one. And it'll be Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin. Joe Flacco, They dug him out the grave last year. And let's be realistic. I mean, yeah, his warranty's about expired. No, because he was a never was. And he only had a playoff in the playoffs. He wasn't a threat. See, cats that are bums or something, they're not memorable because they're forgettable. He ain't the one. He ain't the one. Um I'll tell you somebody who you ain't gonna think of because he's only been around a few years, but they've been rolling him. But if he don't fool around and win or get it to match the hype, is Micah Parsons. No, Randall, no, Randall was great in Philly. He was great in Philly. I'm gonna call it Fisher Price. He, when I tell you about black quarterback, his situation was just timing. It wasn't his fault that Morton Anderson missed the kick, you know. But I'll tell you people if you want to know. The Vince Carter one was a good one. Steve Francis would have been a good one. Yao Ming was a good one. Tracy McGrady was a good one. Hmm. Get to see it, Patrick Ewing. No, he won in LA. He redeemed himself. He redeemed himself. He left on a good note. Deron Williams. Well, because he went to finals, right? And then that finger roll that didn't go in against Indiana. And then, he ended up with what, Orlando and Seattle, and he just was washed. He didn't even get to the finals when the Knicks went. He was hurt in '99 when Allen Houston and Latrell led the way. So, yeah, he lived off of his old receipt. Now, he's a great example of it. Yeah. He's a guy who, had that moment and then it never came back. That's what I mean. It's gotta be, you gotta come with the cha-ching. You can't come with, there's a lot of, he's a great example of it. Oh, yeah, he's a great example. Except for his big output against the Bulls and took 7 games. And he did get to the finals against the Lakers, so he does not fit that. Because he did have big moments against the Bulls in '98, and he went to the finals against the Lakers. So he did have moments. Wasn't like he was devoid of moments thereafter. I'm talking about cats that didn't have any more moments after. So if you talking like that, they gotta pretty much been non-existent after that. That's what I mean when I say, because Fish Price is like you had that moment and then you never came close to it again, and then we forgot about you. That's what I mean. And it's for guys who usually didn't win too. But if you've been 10 or more years and you still up here dangling, then you start to almost fit into that criteria, i.e. Mike McCarthy, i.e., um, you know, but not everybody. Okay, what's the new one, the Fisher Price? Because you basically peaked and you pretty much set in stone and we never got no more out of you. And Michael Jordan was talking about it, how a guy can peak, have a moment, and then he gets a 10-year career. And that guy, that's it. Then he becomes a bum. He just kind of like becomes like a wallflower, wallpaper, and he don't move. And you can't get him up out of there because people keep thinking that that window's gonna come back, that moment's gonna come back, and it never does. Um, they do that with coaches like Calipari, Pitino, because guys won and they keep him around forever and a day. Look at Juwan Howard. It took this year for them to finally let him go. I mean, they have a little bit of success or they do this or that. Of course, brothers got to win though. White boys can win once or go somewhere deep and they'll get a 20-year career. Brothers got to win. It's just that they don't really, they're just now starting to pay and they haven't really balanced it out. So the politics of college basketball is sickening because it's hand over fist money. None, because the man's a made man. I'm not a Duke fan, but the guy won, right? He won big. He shut me up forever. He won multiple rings. What am I going to say about him? I'm not the biggest fan. However, I'm not going to sit there and say anything stupid. The guy won. You know, he had arguably the most important run, in the last 30 years. Yep. Guys that did something and you ain't heard from them and, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. And that's the reason why Belichick got out of coaching the Patriots, because if Belichick had sat there 2, 3 more years, only thing he would have had looking forward to was breaking the all-time coaching winning record. But he was going to be in that Fisher Price mode a couple more years with Matt Jones or whatever the Patriots had. He was headed towards that. And it can happen to the mighty mighty. Well, that's not all his fault. I mean, he had a great talent crew. You're only as good as what you coach. So if you don't have the talent, you not everybody can just straight coach X's and O's. That's why there's different types of coaches. Um, sorry, she doesn't fit the criteria, and I'm gonna tell you why. She was never a top tier actress to me. She was never a second tier actress. She was just kind of all right. Nice, cute face who played a certain type of role, but I never felt the depth in anything she did. I mean, um, the Inkwell was an interesting film. Set It Off, she was the third wheel. Low Down Dirty Shame, second, third wheel, take your pick. A Menace to Society, she was third wheel. Where was she ever top wheel at? And don't say woo, her and Tommy Davidson. I mean, she just never had that kind of it. So you gotta when you start talking about actors and actresses and music, it's different than sports because the Fisher Price is usually geared towards I can't really do it with movement because I'm gonna tell you why you can't do it with movies and music. I mean, like that, because audiences are funny. There is I'm baiting, and see, this is another thing. Only time you can do that is if you show somebody that had potential. Got to be somebody that showed you that they could have been great, could have been good to great, not people that are average. Okay, I'll give you want an example of an actor. You want an example? I'll give you. Say yeah, and I'll tell you. See, Vivica is like middle of the road, plays samey kind of roles. Even Lagoya too. They're not deep actresses. They all right. They're not no threat. They all right. They play certain roles. They're not film carriers. They're sidekicks to the sidekick. They're good in ensemble cast. They're not top tier cast. That's a big difference. They're not even co-stars. So it's not, I'd be wasting my time with them. Just saying. But if you want Fisher Price actor, I'll tell you who. I'll give you a good example. I wouldn't say any. No, because as if you get in Hall of Fame, you were great. You don't usually get acknowledged on that level unless you were, now they may have some people that are very good, really good. You know who it was? One name comes to mind, and that's before he hit with that Rasta movie. It was Mickey Rourke. his promising of his career in the 80s with the Pope of Greenwich Village and everything he did back then, he looked like he was gonna be in that Al Pacino kind of vibe. He had an aura. And it wasn't until he did that wrestling movie years later that he got it back because he squandered gold. He was good in body. He had some good movies. He just didn't go to the next level. That's what I mean by Fisher Price. Like you see somebody and you thinking, oh, that guy is going like when you mentioned Vince Carter, like when I mentioned Patrick Ewing, you're like, that guy. And then time goes on, and then it's like, what happened to that guy? What happened to that person? You know? That's what I mean. And I'm talking about people that give you like knock you out type of perform, you're like, okay. And then they never come back. They never come back from it. So I don't like to use second, third tier people because second, third tier people aren't really on that same, you might say somebody's good, but not nobody that's third tier. It's gotta be somebody that you go, oh yeah, wow. So that's what I mean. You know. Yeah, someone gives you a mind blowing performance and they were on their game, and then all of a sudden, like I'll give you another person who might fit that criteria. Too raw ain't gonna agree with this, but I'm gonna say Wesley Snipes. And I'll tell you why. I'd say from the bad video till about the movie Sugar that he did in 94, he was decent in Waiting to Exhale. And of course I know the whole thing was Blade and all that. But his peak as that dude from the bad video till about White Man Can't Jump, he had something going on. Jungle Fever, he had something there. Well, think about it. I mean, he's not okay. Is he considered like Denzel? Is he considered like Samuel? Was he headed for a Michael B. Jordan type of situation? See, ask yourself that. Where is he at on the food chain? Now, you asked me this 30 years ago, because you weren't there because you weren't around, but 30 years ago, he was considered in that argument with Denzel. In that argument, he was pre Samuel Jackson because he did all that. But Wesley doesn't get, and some of his roles, he hasn't really gotten to that. I don't look at him as a top tier. I don't. Let me see. Who else can I pick on that would I gotta name people. I gotta say we're gonna talk about actors, actresses. I'll throw a name at you that might Hillary Swank. She had those big movies, Boys Don't Cry, $1 million Baby Box, $1 million one. She had some big movies. Now acting's a different hustle because sometimes you just don't. But I'm just saying, she was pretty big for a moment. I'll tell you somebody who would be a Fisher Price because, uh, yeah, Cat Williams would be Fisher Price. What has he done that is memorable to match the hype? And it's not like his movies or anything matched this exchange with Club Shay Shay. So I want to know. It ain't there. You know, Zion Williamson. He the first one come to mind. If he don't win, he's headed towards that. Jason Tatum, he don't win, that's what you getting. Jaylen Brown, he don't win, that's what you getting. Anthony Davis is the obvious too, because he really ain't showed nothing without LeBron. Yeah, he falls in that line. Chris Paul falls in that line. And sad to say, Kevin Durant's gonna fall in that line too. And Kyrie. Yeah. Dame too. Kawhi Leonard sadly's falling in that line. James Harden, Russell Westbrook. Pretty much everybody with the Clippers. Paul George too. Yeah. Because eventually it's like you showed something. We ain't got the returns. No. He's made. No. No, let's stick to the ones that have to prove it. LeBron doesn't have to prove nothing else. I said AD does, not him. He doesn't have to prove nothing. Mm-mm. He's certified. But it's Durant that has to prove. Durant's the one that's got it. You're right. The ones we already called were the ones, not LeBron, not Steph. They're straight. Jokic is straight. Giannis is straight. Joel Embiid, they're the ones that's coming with the tag. And eventually Luka too. But LeBron and Steph are made. They straight. Kawhi is pretty much straight. But Durant's situation is he has to. NFL quarterback in today's game. Anybody with the 49ers? Because Mr. Purdy is definitely gonna come and dare I hate to say this. Tua. Deshaun Watson. Josh Allen. Dak Prescott. Kirk Cousins. Lamar Jackson. Flacco. Well, what is he going to do without Tua? I mean, what's he going to do without Tyreek? And they can't play in the cold. And, a lot of things you start to question stuff. I mean, when the Cat's playing around 3 or 4, 5 years now, you got knocked out 2 straight years in the first round with Tyreek Hill. Patrick Mahomes won a Super Bowl and lost one with the same guy. So what you telling me? What am I supposed to do with that? And you're in a very explosive offense. You had a coach in Brian Flores who thought you were garbage. No, not hurt. I said Tyreek Hill, 2 Super Bowls with Patrick Mahomes, won one, lost one. 2 first-round exits with Tyreek. What am I supposed to do with that? Meanwhile, Mahomes wins 2 Super Bowls without Tyreek. What are we supposed to do with that? There's a big difference. That's what we're saying. Justin Herbert's gonna fall into that class too. He getting kind of long into that thing. Jimmy G. Yeah, well, Mahomes is a special player. I know Skip Bayless, they had a segment yesterday about Mahomes and LeBron compared Mahomes and Steph Curry, which I already did. Um, yeah, he's a special player. Mahomes is good for you. Yeah, Mike McCarthy already said that. I mean, that ring was before there was a such thing as Instagram, and seems like a lifetime ago. I mean, you think about it, it is a lifetime ago now. Shoot. I mean, if they don't win a ring this year, McCarthy's ring is old enough to be like a learner's permit. I mean, think about it. A long time. No, he earned no. Two rings, did good with Jacksonville. No. He gets a pass. He's no. He had nothing to prove. You remember who he beat? What's he got to prove? And if you win, and you win multiple times, I'm not holding against you. Or if you win and you get out, I'm not holding against you. Like Tony Dungy won, got out, I'm not holding against him. Nothing's held against that. Tomlin didn't won without winning, but he's showed it. So I'm talking about when you fall off to the point where you just been hanging on to something for 15, 20 years. Coughlin was legit. But McCarthy, what's happened in Dallas, what happened with Aaron Rodgers and with Dak, no, he's not looking too legit. Yeah, I saw that. Actually, I was on one of the sites and they said it. I'm not surprised. She ran her mouth. She still ain't learned. She stays doing too much tap dancing and, you know, she's got to know she's going to get used. She should just start her own podcast or something. Nobody's going to waste no time with her. I can't even say that about her because she's never done nothing significant. At least I said you got to do something significant. Being butt dancing, shuffling, that's not Fisher Price. That's just male practice. That's not nothing significant. She's not a top tier talent. Trying to be a broke Wendy Williams ain't special for her. She's a marginal, middle of the road, whatever she do. At least have to have some talent or something or some depth. No. Mm-mm. The thing with Elon Musk didn't work, but he's still getting paid. No. He conducted a top interview with this cat. So regardless of where you come down, I'm not the biggest on him, but no, he still he still generated interest. So no. See, you gotta be to be Fisher Price, you can't hit He still hit. He hit. That's not Fisher. Now that I have to sadly agree with, because if he doesn't do anything, he's just gonna be the guy that they keep promising is gonna do something. He done lost 5 different ways in the postseason last 5 years. He is definitely sad to say. Yeah. Coulda, woulda, coulda, shoulda been an MVP. Coulda, woulda, shoulda been to a Super Bowl. Got one AFC championship game to show for it. Not good enough. That's a good example right there. I hate to say it, but it is. People that have potential to look great and then they don't, and then they kind of settle. That's where they fall into. I'm beginning to think that it is getting to that point because I don't know how many more years she's going to keep getting opportunities. Like I said, he lost 5 different ways in the postseason. He lost to Jacksonville, lost to Houston, twice to Kansas City, once to Cincinnati, and then to Kansas City again. So it's like he lost to Kansas City 3 different ways, and I don't know. So imagine if he don't do good, they'll probably let more people go. But a lot's gonna depend on what he do. So I think he's got more pressure on him. You know, I didn't want to say it because he does have those league MVPs. And that's the one saving grace that he's got. He won a couple MVPs in the last 5 years, and that's the only saving grace. But if we're going by the promise of what he looked like and what has happened, he would fit the criteria because it's been a long time since he won. He's racked up league MVPs, he's racked up stats and all that, but his credibility is getting kind of shot. Only because he's got those multiple league MVPs. That's why he doesn't quite fall in. So, but I'm gonna tell you this: he's one of those type of people that there can be two truths can be truth. He don't fall into it because of what he's achieved as far as the 4 MVPs in the Super Bowl, but he falls into it because of what he hasn't done. He's only got one Super Bowl appearance and win, and that's a long time ago. So he's the most polarizing case you bring up. That's very polarizing. He's polarizing with it. And I usually like if you win or something, I don't hold it against you. But I told you, like, if Belichick had to coach 2 or 3 more years and he didn't do anything in New England, so say he coaches till like 2027 and they still suck, then his would definitely be people be like, So he got out just in time. So mm, okay. So that's what's up with him. He's on the border. If he don't win the next year or two, Because that Super Bowl appearance, and this ain't all his fault. I mean, the offensive line sucks. They've had injuries, but he's starting to, yeah. I mean, especially if Mahomes wins another ring, you start to blur yourself from obscurity. You start to get real obscure. And realistically, Mahomes is battling his own self. I mean, when a guy's 3-1 in the Super Bowl and there's no one else within his radius, I hate to say it, there's truth. I mean, he shows a lot of promise. He looks the part of a great player. He looks the part of a Hall of Fame. He looks the part of a, but he don't get the job done. It's sad to say. I can't argue on that one. I mean, he's definitely an example of it. Giancarlo Stanton too. I mean, um, you know, geared towards guys who haven't won. I mean, you know, yeah, he might be the kingpin of it if you want to be honest. He might be the kingpin because all this slurping that they do for him and they make him because of analytics and how great he is. And he's pretty much like the James Harden of baseball, paper champion. I'll give you some slack if you went to a finals or World Series in the last 2 or 3 years. But when you just stat padding and you haven't really dominated like you make yourself out to, yeah, it looks Fisher pricey. So yeah. But yeah, it's hard to say because I already said Mickey Rourke and I said Wesley. Anybody that you think that was great. I'm not talking about just good or average. I'm talking about guys that have potential greatness and they just underachieve and they never got to the next level and they just kind of settled and they just kind of faded. So, so something. I mean, it's always debatable. I mean, you can, if you wanted to pick on somebody, if I was going to say somebody, I could make a case with Terrence Howard might fit that criteria because he should have been bigger. And he settled on some stuff that could have been bigger. But again, that's a different animal. Usually, when we're talking sports, music, and acting, it's a different animal. So, like I told you, I try not to, I don't put in the same category because it's a bit different. No, you said Fisher Price. He had roles. Now, see, there's a difference between Fisher Price and Bucking. He spoke out. He said he wasn't down with the Starburst crew. He said that's one of the things that holds him back. But he's also said some, not so subtle, smart remarks. But it's more he's getting the Fisher Price treatment. I don't. I feel he speaks up on certain things. Just his talent is kind of downplayed though. That's how I feel about it. Yeah. Taraji Fisher. No, because she's average, slightly better than average. Terrence a better actor, but no, she never had what memorable role that she had. It's not like she done something that I sit there and I go, oh, wow. I told you it's got to be someone that's top tier, and you know she ain't in that argument. Well, it's been a while since I've been on. Like nothing no more. Like I said before, they used to always want to cut more off your top, fade you. You know, everybody gets political commentary in there. If I got topic on something, but it's its own kind of experience. I got again. Yeah. So nothing on that one. All right. Karen's pet peeves is always that they just overblow everything out of proportion. So that's kind of self-explanatory. They blow it all out of proportion. So that can become instigating and all kinds of things. Nosy neighbors who be looking at stuff, trying to like act like they care and they just want to gossip, that's those things are pretty self-explanatory with those, you know. Um, they try so busy to try to get your attention. So, so I look at that. Nosy neighbors have always been the same. Oh, in-law pet peeves, pushy, dictating, politicking. If they don't like you, they got ways of going about it. That's when you got to worry about it if you concern yourself. So that's my pet peeves on them. That can be a mixed bag. If they don't like you, if they don't got something to say, they can be real problematic. Only if you got a great gift from them at first and they acted all warm and fuzzy and then they went cold on you 10, 15 years later and then you never could get that feeling back, then yeah. But I wouldn't put them as Fisher Price though. Most don't do that good job of acting. Mhm. Parents' pet peeves. Mm, just think that you have to, stuff get reinforced. I mean, it's kind of hard to say because depends on how you grew up, where you grew up, you know, um, discipline, obedience, fundamental stuff you expect. It depends if they nagging you about something that you can't comprehend, but it depends on who you're living with and how they are, you know. Nursing homes, oh, it's just because they beat you up, you know, and it's a zoo up in there. Yeah, nursing homes abusing the elders and, the smell and the vibe. That's the problem. That's the problem. All right, Chi Lee, what's up? Where you coming from and what's your question? Welcome aboard. Oh, now this might be the most entertaining one you asked me yet. So I played pickup once at the Y, and this white dude was talking about 3-second violation. I about fell out laughing. I'm like, we ain't got no 3-second violation here. Talking about some 3-second violation. I said, well, that's the case. We should play a 15, 24-second clock. Are you crazy? How you gonna call a 24-second violation a pickup basketball? Crack me up. I said, this is absurd. So I added 3-point line. We put like some chalk, made a 3-point line up. Like if they commit a crime with their cops and they don't get charged for it, like that case in Mississippi, great example. If you say stuff, if you knowingly knowing, and yet they still find a way to whitewash it, that's a problem. That's a problem. Because you can't sugarcoat it, you know. No, because he won presidency. Um, Hillary Clinton's a Fisher Price, though. See, when you win, I can't call you that, but when you don't, Hillary's a Fisher Price. Senator, and I think had power but can't win, so he won. He may be a walking wounded, but he's in there. So, uh, yeah, he'd fit that criteria. I mean, if you saw him in the '90s, you know what I mean because bigger and blacker, bigger and devil. He was big for a moment, and he never really swayed the momentum. He had that moment, but it didn't go to fruition. He had that moment. But I mean, he never had a Kevin Hart run. He never had a Martin Lawrence run. He never had a Chris Tucker run. He had a moment where he was in there And then shoot, Chappelle came and passed him by. I mean, you know, that I find him corny, that he ain't funny, that he's dime a dozen. But I'm not part of his base, I'm not his fan club, you know. But I will, again, he hustled. He made it work. Can't say he didn't come up through the trenches because he did some real hood type of films. He just caught on. My pet peeve is he's one of those guys that, crossover that, he's gonna try to appeal. And appeal, we know how that works. So that's the problem thing I have with him more than anything. He tries to have more crazy appeal. So well, she's looking pretty good right now. If you think about it, what she was looking like before the whole thing with Kate, she's looking pretty good right now. Can't say too much bad about her because she can be nauseating and a headache and marginal talent. But because of what's happening now and with Kate going on in Britain, she's not looking too bad right now. Right about now, she looks like she's almost got receipts to get cleared. She's still marginal. Um, that somehow they trying to fit in, they try to be down one way or the other, and some of them go out their way to the point of no return. You can't be too black, you can't be too white, but you think that if you gyrate this or that, I just think that if you be authentic, people will come to you. A lot of them can't be authentic, so get led astray. You know, Megan's problem is that she had a pop fairy tale situation, but then she went up against them folks, and they called her out on who she was and what they really thought of her. And they don't care how you are, they let you know. So that's the problem she ran into. You know, but I think that when you know how people really see you, and then you try to act like, oh, they're not going to really see me that way, and then they show you what they think of you. So, because when Tiger Woods got busted with all the women's, he became a scary Negro. Just saying. So, yeah. So that's it in a nutshell. You know, they make you come back home one way or the other. I don't have a lot of familiarity with that because again, I didn't have a lot of situations like that. I dealt with that like at, I guess you could say at weddings, not in no family reunions and stuff, but we had cook-offs or something like that. I wasn't really privy to a lot of people anything. Most time people kind of check themselves. So didn't have a lot of situations like that. Sometimes you just don't have those moments. Mm, I think I want to say Charlie Finley, the Oakland A's back in the 70s. I like the way he was. He was kind of eccentric. He had a certain aura about him. I really don't have any, you know, I respect them having the money and the clout or what have you, but I really don't have any because after a while, what I used to kind of get excited about, I don't anymore. It just seems like an auction now. I just don't. I think I got turned off back 30 years ago with Mars Shot because she used to own the Cincinnati Reds and she said her rich millionaire N words when she had Eric Davis and she had Barry Larkin. So I got turned off. And that's the sad reality. I just don't really get excited about them. Just not really feeling them. Cuban I kind of liked for a moment, but I'm done with him. When he first came out, when he first came out, he was talking trash about Stern. Yeah, I said then. I didn't say that it kept like that. When he first came out, he was crazy, like Stern, like, uh-oh, this guy might be something. And I did like those Maloof brothers too with Sacramento back then. But again, to a younger aesthetic at the time because they were younger. But I don't care about none of those owners now in hindsight. Cuban was interesting at first because at first he was gonna be the first owner that David Stern was gonna have to whiteball and because he was talking crazy to him. Different time, you know. If you saw Cuban 20 years ago, you know what I'm talking about. He was a different type of owner. The other stuff came over time. And then I got done with him, and then the Maloofs came and went. But I don't care for none of them, no. So respect the hustle. When you gotta have the money in the capital and you gotta be successful, what you do. Um, just the stupidness of firing people all the time and the whole nonsense with Dave Winfield, the racist rhetoric. He tended to be uh petty, and meddling. Sometimes he made sense, sometimes he didn't. He overspent his money too. So Could have been better situations. I think he, like I said, he got very fortunate in the 90s that Jeter came along and the success he had. Vaguely, vaguely, vaguely. But, you know, what about him? Yeah, that's a long time ago, too. Long time ago. Yeah, it was something like that. That was a long time ago. Yeah, you can project, but your projection didn't turn out right. They never had anybody like that. Not that they homegrown, no. Probably when he was hitting his 8 home runs consecutively, that was something, and probably one of his catches in the outfield. Probably my moments. All my moments pretty much was in the Kingdom with him, if I'm honest. Nothing to Cincinnati and nothing with the White Sox. But his early stuff was my favorite. No, remember he had 8 games. It was 8 games. He had a home run in 8 straight games. Don Manley did it too. That was 30 years ago. I shouldn't have said 8 straight home runs now, but he hit 8 home runs in straight games. It was games, you know, which is incredible. Don Manley did it too. He was one of the most talented players I ever saw in my life. I think it was the game he hit the game winner home run and then he threw dude out at home plate and he went to go to the hospital to go see his dad. It's probably my favorite Barry Bonds moments. That was one of them that stood out. The 40-44 when he hit the 70 home runs, and then I think um, the home run he hit in the World Series. But that's how I describe it. That's not a favorite. I liked it, but it's not my favorite moment. It's like the fact that he came over to us and was winning. That was an intimidating moment, but it wasn't my favorite. I'm just glad that he came over when he won. I was impressed with his dominance, his control, uh, his maturation as a pitcher because he had way more stuff. When he left Toronto, the fact that he added to his repertoire, he wasn't a one trick pony. That's what amazed me about him. But it wasn't really so. Um, I think the Negro League uniforms probably the best, and then I'd say the Montreal Expos, old Astro uniforms, Yankees, Dodgers, Expos, Padres, Twins, Blue Jays, Tigers, Oakland A's, Pirates. Mm, hmm. Yeah, those teams come to mind. It's always catches. I can't. I mean, Willie Mays' basket catch is the standard, as far as I'm concerned. That'll always be his basket catch, which inspired Griffey Jr. and stuff they gave Trout for, and those catches. Ichiro's catches, throws, Roberto Clemente's, Barry Bonds, Gary Maddox. There's a lot of different ones over the years. Center field is probably the most notorious spot, though. Jim Edmonds made a lot of, he had a lot of love. So those are the ones. Basket catches over the, driving home runs. Torrey Hunter against Barry Bonds, and even though it was an all-star game, Torrey had sprang. Kirby Puckett, 91 World Series against Atlanta. Those are the moments. I've seen some incredible players from outfield, so um Lou Pinella had quite a few. Earl Weaver used to crack me up. Billy Martin was hilarious with him. One of the guys usually kick dirt on the home plate, and those are usually the best ones. Those guys come to mind. Weaver, Pinella, Billy Martin back in the day. You know, I remember whatchamacallit when he was coaching the Pirates. He ran and took the base off. That was hilarious. But yeah, I remember Bobby Cox had some funny ones too. So it all depends. Yeah. My favorite though wasn't ejection, but it was a stare down. Frank Robinson, the home plate umpire. That was the most epic one because he looked at dude. His eyes was on dude for like a couple minutes. It was crazy. That one was hilarious because he was dead serious. That one was probably like very noticeable. But very few guys, when they get kicked out of a game, they do it for different reasons. Sometimes to motivate the team. Sometimes the team is sucking. Sometimes there is bad calls. It's different. It's just like NBA coaches. It depends what the motivation is, the criteria is behind it. Depends. They're not favorites. The worst one was Tim Duncan. That one I'll never understand what Joey Crawford was thinking. Because all Duncan did was smile and shake his head, and he was on the bench and he got ejected. That's the strangest one ever. She just got hated on. But Tim Duncan's, that didn't make no sense at all. That made no sense. That was pathetic. I don't really buy them no way. I mean, they throw Draymond Green out for always something, doing something stupid, but it don't register. So, no. But the Tim Duncans was even worse than Sheeds. That one is still a puzzle. He should. Did you hear the news about Kate Middleton? Cancer. I just heard about it. That's what they've been covering her up in Britain. Just got the news. So it's interesting. She's got a got. I'll show it to you. See.
I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you personally for all the wonderful messages of support and for your understanding whilst I've been recovering from surgery. It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who have taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful. In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present. My medical team therefore advised that I should undergo a course of preventative chemotherapy.
Yeah.
And I'm now in the early stages of that treatment.
Well, I'm just saying that I don't wish that on nobody, though. Even if I don't support her personally, I don't wish that on nobody, though. It's a real reality. I don't wish that on nobody, though. I don't have to like the person, but I don't wish sickness on nobody either. You know. But yeah, well, there's been a real mystery though with her though. So I do have to share that news though. It's a reality. Mm. Anyway, I thought I'd just bring that to light since we're doing a live stream and I just had got that news. So for some people out there who watch my channel who might be interested, just thought I'd throw that out there because just to show people that yes, it is sad news. I just throw it out there for people that um, I do get different people that come through here who know we talk about different subjects, and that has been big news. She has been big news. Not as well, was a mystery because Charles got it too. So um, just for people who were interested and wanted to know, and also just to show that I don't. There's no limits here. We talk about different topics and things, and bring news events up. So the world ain't that far removed from one another. I just don't like the bouginess and the pretentiousness. I can't relate to it. I think being born and bred in America, you can't get used to monarchy. You can't get used to this, this type of bow down and stuff. In America, you do that to music artists and actors and actresses and athletes. Like what we talk about. Michael Jackson was like royalty. You know, Stevie Wonder's like royalty. You can say Prince if you want to, Whitney, Michael Jordan, and you know, uh, Bird Magic. People that you go wow. The wow. Ali was like that. Athletes, musicians, movie actors. De Niro, Pacino, Denzel. People like that. They got that kind of all. Oprah did for some people. You know what I mean? We don't get like that about the president. Like, people don't care one way or the other about Biden or Trump like that. Not like that. Or Obama like that. That's where it becomes like it's a different world. I just think that 80 when he won the title and played all the positions, because that always stand out to me more than anything. Of course, his All Star game when he coming back in '92 was a big moment. His moments were special. He had special moments. Underrated skill. I think he was more of a force than he let on. He could have done more. I think that's underrated. He deferred. He really willing them an offensive self to do something that would make the team better. Gave him a chance to win or lose. Well, if you go to 9 finals in 12, 13 years, that speaks volumes in itself, don't it? Don't you agree? 5-4 in the finals. I think that speaks volumes about that. Not too many people could do that. That's unselfish. You know. So um this is when he was coaching. I can't say I really, he it's not really one he was able to strategize with what he did. I can't really say there's a favorite. It came the situations were different with Chicago and LA. So I can't even say. Um, his underrated skill to me though was the fact that he could really get people to buy in to what he was saying. Like everybody had to buy in. And he was incredible at making everybody accountable. Where you can look Ryman could look special. Um, he did. Kukos came up big. He met Ron Harper. He had guys who you want to see when you always asking about role players, Phil was the ultimate coach for role players because his role players could look like starters. I told you when Luke Longley got that big old contract with Phoenix, that was one of that's a shrewd guy that he could make guys who were marginal look like something. He had that uncanny ability. Phil's a great coach. And he understood how to pull strings. He got a lot out of people. You have to be a special kind of when you can win at that level, you have to be pretty special. So um, that's what I would say. He pressed the issue and he got results. You know, and there's ways that he would needle certain guys. He knew how to reel them one way and tell them to go. Mm, Probably Miami when he said it was all 15, 16 of us. We got to win. I think those moments when he emphasized his strategy with stylings, his emphasis on not fraternizing with the other teams. He was serious about stuff. He was serious about it. He took that us against them mentality, and that speaks volumes about what he meant. You know, he was very combative, but he was, he battled, and I can't find fault with what he did because it worked for him. Probably against San Antonio in a big shot against Dave Robinson. That was probably his, he had moments, but his best play was in Philly. The Pat Riley situation is amazing because as great as he was with the Lakers and what he brought to the Knicks, all of that rolled into Miami and it worked, but in a different way. But it's he made that all work. Phil was a different coach in Chicago than he was in LA. He had to really work on ego in LA, but that's why there are coaches who understand coaching ego, and there are guys who are coach X's and O's, and they're two different type of coaches: a polisher and a finisher. I think that when he got this Miami Heat team with Jimmy Butler in them the finals, that's great moments. Because that to me, that's just more impressive than LeBron, D Wade, and Bosh and Ray Allen them because he had guys who had to overachieve to get what they got. That's great coaching. Underrated skill is just communication. I think he really gets a lot out of role play. He really got Gabe Vincent, got a lot of those guys. You know, they bought into the system. Max Stroud just kept busting your butt and making you feel because Terry Rozier's looking pretty good there, and he makes adjustments to what has to work. So that's what he does. None, 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 none. I'm not. No. Aside from when he won in Boston, they poured the Gatorade on his back. I got nothing else to say about Doc. Nothing. No comment. I'm with Rasheed Wallace. I don't think he should be coaching now, and I got to see what happens with Milwaukee. Ask me after what happens with the Buck season. I don't want to talk about him. Plead the fifth. Gary, well, winning in Miami and what he did in Seattle. Those are my best moments of him. Um, Besides posting up, he could shoot outside. He had a nice touch for the game. I think he's underrated, period, as a point guard. I don't think he gets his due. I don't think he gets his due. He really led that team in Seattle. He didn't back down for nobody and he held his own. And when he's with the Nets and he got them to the finals, I thought that was good. He worked on his craft because he used to couldn't really shoot outside, and he became became a really good 3-point shooter. So I think that's the thing that impressed me, that he worked on his craft. He didn't even have to. You know, Kid's an example of a guy. This is why it's hard when you have discussions about point guards and now people come at it. Well, he became a better 3-point shooter as time went on. So when people have an issue with Steph, I said, well, Steph came along when they were asking Kid to be a better 3-point shooter, which he did. So that was part of being a point guard. But when Kid was in his peak in his prime in his career, you weren't asked to be a 20 plus point a night point guard. That came with the territory. So that's why Steph is unique, because that's the era he came up with. So when people ask, they say things, I'm like, well, look, that's the reason why it's like it is. He was asked to be a better outside shooter because when Nash emerged, guys had to start shooting threes that were point guards. Deron Williams shot it. Rondo didn't. Rondo was traditional. CP3 could, but they're more traditional. But the guard position changed. That's where I get into when people got a problem with Steph being labeled a point guard, because they're not taking into consideration that's how much the game changed. All with 49ers. And I think the fact that he manipulated his speed, he turned the rack into a stat. He turned the rack into reality. That's an incredible skill, because most receivers are considered either, jet and go and run hitches. He would run like a 2-3 yard slant and he could be gone. And that was an incredible talent he had, but he could do. He made the rack into something, take a 5-yard catch and turn it to 55 yards. Some canny ability. Not to mention he could go deep on your behind and catch. He just was, but his underrated was his ability to he could shorten the field and beat you long without necessarily being a bar burner, without necessarily being, whatever Moss and T.O. had going straight. He beat you with short fade, but he just was always competitive, and he got his in. And there's a reason why he's so far ahead of everybody. So he worked hard. I got much respect for Jerry Rice as a player. Incredible. Okay, I got time for a couple more questions before I'm getting ready to go and eat, because it's about my time. I think the fake ball into the ground against the Jets, and then he threw that touchdown, was incredible. Underrated skills was just being precise with his mechanics. Like, he really was pinpoint. He was just channeled in. Incredible ability. People still marvel at his skill set. And he's one of the greatest to ever do it. I mean, just incredible pinpoint accuracy, detail. Truly one of the greatest talents I've ever seen. He, he was just that good. So, left a lasting impression. We saw Marino, you didn't forget him. Incredible handle, release. So, incredible. Anyway, I'm gonna get ready to call it the night. Appreciate everyone that came through. It was a lot of questions, a lot of takes, a lot of thoughts, a lot of interesting characters. So, welcome it. Always glad to see it. Please stay safe, stay warm, stay cool. Enjoy the newness of spring. Hope you're getting some spring. Hope it ain't still cold where you are, because it depends on where you are. But anyway, appreciate you coming through. Peace and the best. I appreciate everyone that came through, and appreciate the questions. And let's keep it up. Make it stronger the next time. The next time, peace the best. I'll catch you. I'm out.